Can a believer commit major sins and still have Imaan? One thing to note is a believer is between three stages or three states. Either he's enjoying a blessing and then he is required to be grateful for that blessing, or he's going through a test and then he is expected to be patient through that test, or finally he is engaged in a sin and then he is expected to seek forgiveness for that sin before time runs out and before he dies. These are the three stages. So Islam recognizes that human beings are fallible and they make mistakes. In fact, it was a mistake that brought us to earth, a mistake made by our father alayhi salatu wasalam, Adam, that made us descended to earth and leave paradise. So the creed of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, which is the first generation of Muslims and those who follow their path, is that human beings make mistakes. Now, when I say mistakes, majorly I mean major or minor, but with the example I gave earlier, it is referring to minor. But the question here is major sins, because we know major sins are sins that Allah tie a great punishment to them, like Allah stating that He is going to punish people who do so and so, or He causes la'ana, He causes people who do so and so, or the Prophet even mentioning that laysa minna, he's not among us. So these are major sins. Major sins that have the high class of punishment, and they even include shirk, which is one thing that takes you out of the fold of Islam. So, but my example here does not include shirk because obviously it takes you out of the fold of Islam. If you look at a hadith in Bukhari where the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يزني الزاني حين يزني وهو مؤمن ولا يسرق السارق حين يسرق وهو مؤمن. The fornicator does not fornicate while becoming a mu'min, a believer. So which means that when you are sinning at that very point in time, there's a reduction of your faith. So a believer has three belief levels. The most basic and base level is Muslim, al-Islam. One who does all the 5 pillars of Islam, does all the outward actions. That is, believes in Allah and does all the outward actions like prayer and what have you. The level above that is mu'min, a believer. A mu'min. Basically, in English, they all mean the same thing. Mu'min is a higher level than Muslim. So this is a person who exemplifies, at the very least, those six articles of faith. So he embodies not just the outward actions, but a presentness to those outward actions. So it's almost like it's more heart-based. And the level higher than that, and the very highest level out there, is Muhsin. The one, as the hadith of Umar ibn Khattab mentioned, that he worships Allah as if he can see him, and if he cannot see him, then definitely Allah can see him. So that is his state constantly. So when you stop becoming a mu'min, you go a grade lower. Not that you leave the fold of Islam. A grade lower will be Muslim. This is particularly an answer to the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila, who take some verses out of context, verses where Allah promises paradise and eternal favor and ni'mah for the believers, and eternal damnation, al-wa'id, to those who do not believe. So they think that when someone commits sin, especially major sins, then definitely, undoubtedly, Allah must punish him. And Allah not punishing him is like Allah is going against his words, which is not true. Even between human beings, when a great person says, I am going to punish you, and does not punish you, that is seen as karam, as honor. But it's not the same for the opposite. if I say I am going to reward you and I do not reward you, then that is absolutely true when you say a person goes back on his word. So the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah believe that if you commit major sins, that does not take you out of the fold of Islam. You are still a believer and you can work some more. In fact, Allah mentioned that the paradise is for 3 people, and among those 3 people, ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ, the one who has oppressed himself, who engaged in sins and what have you. But he is still a believer in terms of him being a Muslim. He is still a believer in terms of him believing in Allah and doing all the outward action, provided he does not do anything that takes him out of the fold of Islam. Assalamu alaikum.